What's up, party people in the house? It's Dynasty War Games, and I'm your host, Jesse Schneeman. I'm here flying solo tonight. It's a little weird, but I'm going to do it anyway. Chad and Mike couldn't make it tonight, so I'm going to be that rapper from the 90s, 80s, K-Solo. If anybody remembers K-Solo, man, I'm a little surprised about that. All right, so I'm here, and I'm going to do a wide receiver primer for you guys. Free agency primer, that is. I'm going to list out some guys. We're going to play a game tonight, but those guys aren't here. So I'm going to list out some guys, kind of put them in some tiers for you. And then I have some landing spots broken up into tiers, and I'll try to match a few of those guys up and maybe even throw out a little bit of Dynasty trade value. All right, so no banter with my co-host today, so I'm just going to jump right into the content. This is a thin market this year, really, really thin. Unless some guys get cut or unless some guys get traded, we'll see what happens. It does look like Brandon Cooks will be available at some point, but he's not on my list because he's not a free agent. But keep in mind, he's probably at this point the best wide receiver on the market, but we saw a lot of movement last year in the trade market. So we could see a lot more movement in the trade market this year. There are a lot of wide receiver needing teams, and this rookie class is not nearly as good as it was last year, at least in my opinion. So without further adu, let's get to my tier one, and not the greatest of tiers. So we've got Juju Smith-Schuster leading the pack. This year he was with the Kansas City Chiefs and just got hurt this last Sunday in the AFC Championship game. Not sure if he'll be available for the Super Bowl or not. Good showing in the Super Bowl would definitely boost his value, but not a horrible year for Juju, but probably not what we all expected or what we had all hoped when he went to when he signed with Kansas City on a one-year deal. 101 targets, 78 catches, 933 yards, only 3 touchdowns. I think, the biggest issue there is touchdowns, but then, more of a wide receiver 2/3. In PPR, he was the wide receiver 27, standard wide receiver 39. So if that's your best wide receiver on the free agent market, we're probably in a little trouble here. All right, so moving on to number 2, I have DJ Chark. Chark was with the Lions this year. He signed on a one-year deal. Looked pretty good. Missed a lot of time as DJ Chark does. His numbers in 11 games were 52 targets, 30 receptions, 502 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So DJ Chark was the wide receiver 76 in PPR, 65 in standard. I think what you're hoping if you sign a guy like him really is just that he provides you some deep speed over the top. I think if he were to sign with some of the tier 1 teams that I have on my list here, he could definitely provide some value, but be careful when trading for these guys because, again, tier 1 in this market is not something major. I wouldn't give up anything more than maybe a third for DJ Chark. I might give a third and another third, or a third and a fourth. And before I move on to the next wide receiver in my tier, I have a surprise. I actually have a co-host tonight. My co-host on
Dynasty Fever. Yeah.
How are you, my friend? Saving
Not
the day.
Too bad, man. I was like, damn, they're like 20 minutes late. Let me wrap up this thing I'm doing in my spreadsheet, and then I'm just gonna go to bed. And then I get this StreamYard link, and I'm like, let me go hang out with my friend Jesse. Let me see what's going on.
Well, we're more on brand than ever tonight. Neither of the other guys could make it last minute, so I was trying to do this thing solo, dude.
I know you don't like doing that. I wanted to say all right, let's let him get some practice doing it, but I know you don't like doing it, and it's live, so I was like, fuck it, I'll come by and say hi.
I think I was doing all right. So far, I went over.
Then I'll leave. All right, see you later.
So far, I went over Juju and Chark as the top two guys in free
Well, then we
agency.
really only have one or two guys to talk about, and then we're done.
Actually, there's two more guys in tier one that I think are all right. So, do you want to play a little game with me? Actually,
Yeah, sure.
since I have it lined
I was
up.
going to ask you if you had a game lined up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
I do. We're gonna play a little keep trade cut.
Okay.
All right. So the aforementioned Juju,
Mm-hmm.
DJ Chark,
Mm-hmm.
and Alan Lazard. Keep trade cut.
Wow. I'm gonna keep Juju.
Okay.
I think there's a chance he's still tied to Mahomes, and if not, you're still talking about a 26, 25-year-old wide receiver who can command targets.
Yeah, that's the weird thing that Juju still has going for him is he's still young.
Yeah, I'm gonna trade Chark. I think he may have earned himself a little bit of a contract somewhere where he can be the deep threat. Like I don't think they're going to need him with JMO coming, but I think if on the right team, his value can maybe get a bump after free agency, and you can trade him for something.
Mhm.
And I'm cutting Lazard between quarterback uncertainty and Watson and Dobbs and the likelihood that they draft, a good tight end or another wide receiver, later with maybe like their third round pick or something. I just he's just meh and consistent, but like the most cuttable, I think, out of the three. Nothing really against him so much as he's just the most cuttable out of the three.
If he's not paired with Rodgers, I'm not sure what real value he has. I mean, he's big and fast. He's got some speed anyway. Not the greatest hands in the world. Not certainly going to separate really on a consistent basis. Good blocker though, I guess.
That's something, right?
Yeah. I think I would keep Juju. Oh no, I'm sorry. I think I would keep Lazard though. And hope that he went back to the Packers. I would trade Juju because I think I can get the most for him.
True. Yeah.
And then I would cut Chark. I was actually just speculating on Chark's trade value before you jumped on. So I was thinking a third or two. What if I offered you 2/3?
It's funny when you said trade value, I said more. I thought more than a third, but not a second. 2/3. I mean, I might take that, but it's also at the price point where I'm like, let's see where he signs. Maybe I'll get more at the end of it. I'm not saying it's an unfair, value at this time, but what are we looking at there? Luke Musgrave and Nathaniel Dell. Maybe I'll hold on to him.
Yeah, it looks like there are a lot of running backs in this class though that could go in late second, early third. I don't know. I'm always looking for the next Ramondre Stevenson, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on where. I mean, like we say it all the time on where these guys land and what draft capital they get. Like, right now, if I was doing a rookie mock, I'd probably lean running back in some cases because you sort of know that, like, well, they're very usable, but wide receivers, it's kind of a mystery. There's more variables and that sort of thing. But, depending on, the landing spot, it'll either push wide receivers up or down. So it may look very different from where it is now.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's look at the next group in tier one. So we've got keep trade cut, Jacoby Myers, McCole Hardman, Paris Campbell.
I'm cutting Hardman. I've just never been a Hardman person. I don't think he's going to end up staying with Kansas City. And, as Hardman is, take away Mahomes, and I don't know. It gets ugly. I can't get much for Campbell, but if he gets a quarterback that can target the slot, he's either the keep or the trade. You can probably get the most, for Myers if we're using that as the evaluation for trading, but he's also probably the most worth the most to my team if I'm trying to compete. The thing
Mhm.
about Myers is the reason I would probably say trade him. What if he gets like the Christian Kirk treatment, right? Like, what if there's a very thin wide
Mm.
receiver class and he ends up with the guy who has a contract that we think is too big, right? And then all of a sudden he gets a value spike like Kirk did. Now, Kirk kind of delivered on that value spike this year. I mean, I like Myers. He's always underrated and always cheap, cheaper than he should be. But you could maybe capitalize off like the fact that, it's Juju Myers and who knows, and he gets a good contract.
That's a good point. I mean, if Christian Kirk was in this class, he'd definitely be at the top of it, right? In my opinion, anyway. But he's not in this class, right? And there's nobody else better that really you can say that's definitely better than Jacoby Myers. So yeah, he could get the bag. You get at least a small bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll go over some landing spots in a little bit, but there's a couple spots I think he could really fit well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, get a value spike. So yeah, I agree. Hold him. And then I'm sorry, who were you trading?
I was maybe saying that he's the candidate for trade rather than keep.
Oh, okay.
Because, but I'm thinking trade after he gets the bag, right?
Okay, gotcha.
But if
so
we're talking now, I would hold and then trade Campbell. But it's. I think once we see what the contracts are and the landing spots, Myers would probably have the value to trade.
Yeah, Myers definitely the most valuable out of those three. So, who do you like better out of Hardman and Campbell as far as keeping on your team, or what who's got better? I feel like Hardman's probably got a little more value, right?
Campbell had a few weeks there where Matt Ryan like peppered him,
Yeah, he finally stayed healthy for a year.
And when Matt Ryan wasn't the quarterback, he didn't get peppered. I don't know what that says about that situation, whether it's Ryan being smart enough to, grab that quick pass or that his arm isn't good. Not so sure. But yeah, I mean, they're close. They're close. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they're real close too. I might trade one for the other. I think I like Hardman a little better because he's younger. Paris Campbell probably can do more things. Hardman's sort of a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see Hardman fitting very well on certain offenses. Dallas needs a player like that badly. A lot of teams need a player that can sort of, take the top off of a defense. And that, like I said, that's the one thing that Hardman can do, though. He's not shown an ability to stay healthy. Although, I mean, what NFL players do these days? The Niners,
yeah.
I don't hold that against football players if they get hurt. Guys get hurt.
I mean, like, think about it's they're look at the money that is invested in them, right? Like, I think they're just more careful too. It's not. I mean, like, everybody's bigger, stronger, faster, and the conditioning is better. So you would think, half the league wouldn't be questionable every week. But, that's also because we essentially did away with probable and also because, I mean, look at what the franchise tags are, right? Like, you're giving these guys a big salary, even if they're like your wide receiver 3. Yeah, you're going to hold them out to be cautious if it's a string calf in week 9. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Also, do you think Eddie George was bigger than Todd Gurley?
Do I think Eddie? He seems bigger in the way he played, but I was looking at Todd Gurley's size the other day because someone was saying like they were making a stat thing that only he and 3 other people did it, and like the other guy was A-Chain, and I was like, bruh, look at their size. Like, yeah. And then I quote tweeted with everybody's size, and like, he was comparing A-Chain to like guys who were like 220. When we were younger, the shoulder pads were effing huge.
Exactly, all the pads, the pads were just gigantic, and like even the bust, that guy coming at you in those pads,
and the sleeves like actually hung down past the shoulder.
Right,
old guy.
I like to if I was better with computers, I'd like to make a picture of like Eddie George eating a bowl of cereal, and A Chain is like on the spoon, like giving it to Eddie. Or Todd Gurley or whoever, you know.
Back when wide receivers wore the 80s.
Yes. Yeah, we were just talking about that on Fever, man. I miss those days. 88 and 80, those were the numbers, man. Everybody wanted to have those numbers. Yeah. All right, so let's move to tier 2. It's a real short tier full of some real gross names.
All right.
Keep, trade, cut. Nelson Aguilar. I'm not even going to go over the numbers, right? Yeah. Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
Richie James.
Oh, interesting.
And this is the last tier that we're actually going to play this game with.
Right.
The next two tiers I'll just read, and we'll see if there's any interesting names.
They're all free agents, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I want to say cut James. You know, I mean, yeah. He's a PPR guy if he gets targets, but I think he benefited from the Giants being barren at wide receiver and Wan'Dale Robinson going down. You know,
and he's 37, and this is the first time any of us have ever heard of him.
Yeah.
Right?
He had that one, like, remember that huge game he had for San Francisco? It was like a Monday night game. It's like maybe 2-3 years ago. Yeah, it was a huge game he had.
No, I never heard of him before this year. I mean, I'm sure I did. I just don't remember it.
I'm going to keep Slayton. Like, you know, people forget he's only like, 25, 26, something like that. And, you know, has talent. Like, he just, you know, was the forgotten man there for a while and then was hurt too. And, you know, he flashed a little, you know, this year. Whereas Aguilar, you know, there's just meh. You know, like you can get a guy to, you know, take the top off a defense one-trick pony and occasionally target him beyond a decoy. I can get a million guys like that. And maybe I just misjudged Aguilar. I don't know.
Well, he can't even catch though. That's the thing. Once every 3 years, he'll put up a decent season, and you'll remember who he is again.
Was his best years on Philly?
No, well, I guess one of them, and then he had a good year. He had a good year with the Raiders, and I think his first year with the. No, actually, I don't think he's been good with the Pats at all. I think it's just
so I don't know if you saw, but the New York City sanitation workers retweeted like the Empire State Building being lit up green and white to celebrate. I don't know why Empire State Building green and white to celebrate the Eagles.
Yeah.
But and then they're like, this is traitorous and treacherous, and you know, count on us to take out the trash, including the Eagles next year.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, my buddy lives in Manhattan. He sent me, who's an Eagles fan, sent me some pictures of that. Hey, that's great. Don't expect us to return the favor.
I wouldn't expect that.
I saw a lot of videos from Niners fans on Sunday. That was
like getting harassed.
Walking through the Eagles. I mean, when you say getting harassed, people yelling things at them, sure.
Well,
that's not really harassing someone in a parking lot of a football game. You know, so nobody gets set on fire.
That one video that you posted, that one video that you posted in the group chat, I like the vibe it gave me was like a movie, like someone was making a movie with like a first person POV of like, you know, walking through hostile territory, like a boxer walking to the ring with like a hostile crowd. Like that's what it felt like. It felt like it gave me those kinds of vibes.
Yeah, a little bit like a boxer walking to the ring. It's interesting. Yeah, I saw another one. The one guy jumps up. If you know anything about Jersey, the one guy jumps up and he yells, "Hey, come here. What part of Camden are you from?" Just really. If you know anything about Jersey, Camden is not the place you want to be.
Yeah.
I think it's led. I think it's led the country in murder percentage a couple times.
It can be rough down there.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So, let's see. Yeah, this is not this. Well, I mean, if Chad and Mike.
Oh, did you see? I'm sorry. Did you see the clip of the Bosa brother getting into it with Eagles fans?
No, I did not.
Like
Joey.
Whichever one is the Charger and not the guy who was playing.
Travis, Jonathan.
No.
I don't know.
Once Nick, once Joey. One was
I'm just
playing and
making up
one
names.
wasn't.
I'm just making up boy band names. I don't know.
Well, anyway, the Charger was getting into it with Eagles fans. Like Eagles fans were like filming them. It was just like, it was just, two young men getting aggro. It was, kind of immature and stupid, but
yeah. Mrs. Kelsey is the first mom to ever have two sons in the Super Bowl playing against each other. So, as Travis said, she can't lose. She's the only person that can't lose. I guess their dad might not be around. I don't know. But
well, the NFL can't lose.
Damn straight there. I mean, Eagles fans as well. I mean, I don't want to say it's in the bag or anything, but yikes, they don't really match up to us very well. And
your defense
Mahomes
is soft in the
around.
Middle. Your pass defense is soft in the middle, and all they do is throw to Kelsey in the slot. Like
that's what she said.
Like yeah, exactly. You're vulnerable.
No, we're not.
Yeah, you are.
Avonte Maddox can cover Kelsey. I'm not worried about it. Someone will take his head off. I mean, that little toddler hobble that Mahomes does is really, really worse with that ankle. I don't know. I know he's got two weeks to heal, but I mean, he's only got Kelsey. You can bracket and double the only player they got. It's not a big deal. So
fair.
Yeah, and I just don't think they'll be able to stop the Eagles' offense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're a pass funnel, and I mean, you've got 3 really good targets there. So
4, if you count Quez.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we don't. Only Philly fans do.
I mean, that's your mistake.
I think he's good. He's just underused.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's a matchup guy, right? If he matches up well against that defense, then they'll use him. Sometimes they just don't get to him. He's in the game plan.
But he's not a tier 2 free agent wide receiver.
No, he is not. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to argue with any of that crap. Any way you want to put those guys out there is fine. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just have one tier left, and it's just it's old and in the way, basically.
Okay,
Randall, just tell me if any of these guys.
Pause. Is that a reference to the album and the?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Are you okay? I'm glad you. Okay, nice. Yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about Jerry Garcia, right?
Yeah, and Grisham,
okay.
David mandolin player.
Grisham. Yes. There's no. I am a sucker for a little guitar, by the way. And you can play any kind of little guitar, ukulele, mandolin, whatever else you got. Some of your kids' toy plastic guitar. Play that on an album. I'm in. I've listened to the pizza tapes. I've listened to all kinds of hours and hours of these 2 idiots, well, geniuses, but sitting around doing idiotic things with 2 little guitars, But anyway, I'm sorry, go on.
There's a video of them covering a Jimmy Cliff song. I'll get it. Yeah.
Is it Sitting Here in Limbo?
Yes, it's a beautiful song. Oh, I love it.
It's really good. It's really good. Yeah, I've seen that. It's really good. I love it.
Yeah.
It's really good on the mandolin.
Yeah.
All right. So yes, old and in the way. Just tell me if any of these guys interest you. If you would give up a 4th, 3rd, something like that. Randall Cobb, Marvin Jones, Julio, AJ Green, Jarvis Landry, Jamison Crowder.
I think of those guys, the first 2 and Landry have the best chance of remaining in the NFL. and perhaps
Cobb,
having
Marvin Jones.
Yeah, having a fantasy relevant week here or there. Cobb's a good slot guy. He's a smart football player. He can latch on somewhere, and you can rely on him. Not much production there, but if I have a 30-person roster, Randall Cobb at the bottom of it, yeah, why not? Marvin
If Aaron
Jones,
Rodgers,
yeah.
if Aaron Rodgers gets traded, maybe Cobb ends up on that team.
Yeah.
Because he seems to like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Landry, I could see kind of being, like you said, having a relevant week here or there. AJ Green, I believe, already hinted that he's going to retire or discussed it publicly.
Yeah, he's got it. I mean, they weren't even like he was like fully healthy, and he was just like holding his helmet on the sidelines. Like,
yeah. Crowder, I don't even know if he finished the year on a team.
I'm
not sure. Was he with the Bills?
He busted like his ankle really bad in like the middle of the year and was out for the rest of the year. I mean, I'm trying to cling to Khalil Shakir dynasty value, so my narrative is they move on from Crowder and just use Shakir. I don't know that he really catches on anywhere else in a relevant way.
All right, cool. All right, so our resident rookie expert Dallas Hyder told me not to forget this tier of guys right here.
Okay,
right? So these are guys that he claims will definitely be cut based on their contract. I don't do enough research into NFL contracts to have a list like this. So thank you, Dallas, for this list. So tell me if any of these guys pique your interest. Robbie Anderson, Corey Davis, Michael Thomas, Kenny Galladay, Robert Woods. Now, we'll say that's a better list than the last one.
Yeah, I mean, I could make the argument that everybody except Robbie on that list,
even Galladay,
could have a bounce back from where their value is now.
I mean, I could see. I mean, Corey Davis has always been a good football player. I mean, I'm sorry, Corey Davis has always been a very athletic football player that's not been a good football player. Sort of has knucklehead moments. Michael Thomas, great football player. If that guy can stay healthy, somebody could be signing a number one, just target monster.
I mean, he's only 29, 30. Have him run a few slants out there as long as he doesn't get, too diva and upset with whatever's going on the team. Let him play with wherever Brady goes. He'll be happy.
That would be interesting
with Brady. Like he's not going to rock the boat with Brady.
Right? That's true. I mean, Bob Woods, there's nothing that tells us he's done. The problem is he was on the Titans.
It's hard to judge 2022 based on what the Titans year.
Right.
He traditionally he's been a good separator. Post knee injury, not much there. But
I'm not going to go back and watch every route that Bob Woods ran. But, I mean, I would take a flyer on him for a third, fourth.
What would you give up for Michael Thomas? More, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would, yeah. I guess, I don't know. Would you take it like, let's I'm going to throw out an asset that we all think is completely toxic right now. Is going to get replaced, drafted over, or signed free agent. Would you give up and or take Devin Singletary?
I knew you were going to say Devin Singletary. I would not.
I mean, I just feel like he's just so like his value is just so through the floor at this point.
I would not take Devin Singletary for Michael Thomas. I try to give him to you for Michael Thomas, though. Hey, it's gonna be a free agent. He was underused in Buffalo, and he's younger. Maybe he'll go somewhere that'll actually use him and have like a run, an offense that isn't just so pass happy.
What if he goes to the Eagles?
Yeah,
I mean, they have a need for a running back, right? By the way, I'm not sure what happened with Miles Sanders. No one saw him get hurt. He didn't go into the tent, yet he got benched.
Kenny Gainwell, like 14 carries, right?
Yeah, Gainwell and Boston Scott.
Yeah.
And I will say that I did not think that Sanders was having a good game up until that point. He missed a bunch of cutback lanes.
Didn't he have a touchdown or two, though?
He had 2 touchdowns, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the one was just from the 5 up the gut untouched.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, our offensive line is ridiculous. And the other one was our offensive line too. Like, I mean, you or I could have scored on that. Kelsey did. I think Kelsey did score. Is right behind him.
So let's talk about Galladay for like a quick second, right?
Sure,
like,
that's a weird one.
I mean, like he's big. He can have a boundary presence. He's not been the most consistent as far as like a catcher of the ball when it's thrown to him. But like, I don't know. You know, it's one of those weird things. You know, where a guy just kind of like just falls off a cliff out of nowhere. You know, like I mean, there were attitude reports and things like that. You know, you think a team takes a chance on him?
He'll sign somewhere. He's not going to be out of the NFL. He'll at least get a camp invite somewhere. But I think he'll get an actual 1-year deal. He's not getting more than that, but I think he'll get an actual 1-year deal. Might be for the veteran minimum. I don't think he's, $1 million or $2 million. I don't understand that. I was all in 2 years ago when he was free agent coming out of Detroit. I thought he was worth a late first. Gave up that value a couple places for him. And he's just withered on my rosters ever since.
I think maybe we thought he was better than he really was. I don't know.
Sure. I'm sure we did. But there's also this other thing where he's not a separator. He's not going to ever be standing around wide open or running around wide open.
Nope.
He's a big guy that you have to throw it up to and trust him that he's going to get it. He's the catch point, kind of guy. And he had really good technique on a go route and enough speed that he knew how to stack a receiver and get on the other side of him. So he had some long touchdowns, but he's never been fast.
Let me ask you this. You're more of an X's and O's guy than I am, right? The Mothership podcast this week was talking about when they were doing their 1-round rookie mock, was talking about, the modern NFL and players that are better suited for the modern NFL, right? When we look at the number of small guys, wide receivers, right, being drafted, the success of small wide receivers in the last few years, the offenses that are spread out, right? A lot of zone to be capitalized on. Like, I'm not saying like the X receiver is obsolete, but is a guy like Galladay lesser valued in the NFL? Not just like him, because obviously he's garbage, but like, like that type of body, that type of presence is, I mean, we talk about the alpha and the beta, right? And the analytics guys with the thresholds for the alphas versus the betas and all that. I think we are maybe lagging behind and we need to like catch up to like, in the past, the people who have top 24 wide receiver seasons are more often than not, the big body guys that pass a certain height, weight, and BMI threshold. But that's not true anymore. And maybe we need to adjust our process, Yeah,
I get what you're saying. I guess the Des Bryant, Kenny Galladay type of wide receiver is just not obsolete, but just not in demand as it used to be, as in demand as it used to be. It takes the right quarterback and coaching staff to use a player like that. I just don't think Danny Dimes trusts him. I don't think he trusts him. I don't think he's going to be. I think he can play with a player like that. They didn't have any chemistry right from the start. And then Galladay most likely was a jerk about it, from the reports and from the way he just got benched when he was healthy, I mean, for as just desperate as they were for wide receiver help the last 2 years, everybody gets hurt all the time there. Galladay just gets no run. So that's most likely an attitude problem.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at my top 11 rookie wide receivers right now, just my first 3 tiers of 11 guys, right? 3 we know for sure are over 6 foot. 2 are listed at 6 foot, JSN and Boutte.
Probably are not. Yeah, that's. I mean, but that's
I
that's
mean,
the trend.
it's could be this class, like, but
Well, it's
if
the last few
yeah,
classes. You know, I think we've gone over on this show. We've gone over it on Fever a bit too. The Waddle, Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley archetype is really hot right now, and it's successful, and teams seem to like it. We got JSN and Jordan Addison coming out in that similar mold this year, and I think it's wheels up. Those guys are first round picks all day.
Yeah.
So I am what I'm hoping is the NFL has learned, and that the Raiders will stop drafting the Henry Ruggs of the world in the first round. You know what I mean?
Makes me worry a little bit about Jalen Hyatt.
Hyatt, yeah, exactly.
The analytics guys like him, but that it's kind of I don't want to say cherry picking, but he hits certain thresholds. But we're looking at like 1 year of production with Tillman not there, so. So, and then another thing that's coming up with a lot of these guys they're talking about in this 23 class is like XYZ, blah, blah, blah. He's going to be better if there's a big alpha there, like to help him out and draw attention away, So like the big alpha may be a dying breed, but, are very, very important, to some offenses, especially, to the success of some of these smaller receivers, like even JSN and not JSN and Addison, but like, like a Boutte, a Flowers, Parker Washington, certainly a Mims or a Downs, you need to pair them with like, an AJ Brown. Right. So,
yeah. I keep forgetting about Josh Downs too. I'm starting to come around on Zay Flowers now that especially since I saw he weighed in at 182 at the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's like almost 10 pounds heavier than we thought he was.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good. And at 5'10", I think a legit 5'10". So it's short, but it's not Rondell Moore short.
I think he came in at 5'9".
5'9". Okay.
I think but it matters less than the weight boost is outweighs, if you will, pardon the pun, the 1 inch shorter than he was listed as. You know what I mean?
Right on. Yeah, I'm more willing to take a chance on guys. Like I'm not real worried about guys in that range. Obviously, we want guys to be 6'2", 200, but at minimum. But like we said, it's not happening a lot these days. I'm out on the Tutu Atwell, Rondell Moore, Wandale Robinson size, the 5'6" guys. I'm not sure if Wandale was actually that short, but like Tutu and Rondell, I'm out on that size of guy at wide receiver or slot receiver, whatever you call it.
A guy in that range, but is a better prospect, they say, than Atwell, Nathaniel Dell. From oddly enough,
I've heard the name. I haven't looked at him.
Oddly enough, his nickname is Tank. He's 165 pounds, right?
Played for the Tank at wide receiver. Okay, gotcha.
Played for Houston, wide receiver, 165. And like Tutu Atwell was drafted in the second round, right? But like, you know what? It might be
complete bust.
It might be that we're running behind on running back too. Like as much as like I like those big guys. At the same time, the NFL likes to give the guys the ball in space and let them create. So a guy like Gibbs and I don't love
big guys
still
have their place.
Yeah. I mean, they had their place for sure, but what I'm saying is, I think, like I'm saying, don't count out the smalls at wide receiver like we used to. Like we can't count out maybe some of the smalls at running back. Like Tyjae Spears, 5'10", 195. He runs like his ass is on fire. Like I love.
It's not that small. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, but like, Deuce Vaughn.
But just let me bring
on
up
the right offense could produce well for fantasy.
Okay, what I'm trying to get out though is there's offenses that are going the other way on that though. Ramondre Stevenson, Monty, Khalil Herbert. They're the Titans with obviously the King and Hassan Haskins and Snoop Connor's in the league, and there are big backs out there that are getting running. Caleb Huntley and Algier are more of they're very similar players to me, by the way. They're more like kind of short, stocky balls of fury to me than than a light sort of in space kind of player. So they're out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is all. I just want to push back a little bit at running back, just because. Yeah, we are seeing them with James Cook and the like, but it just worries me that they'll be able to stand up to any kind of workload.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, those guys are out there. It's just, I think that, and Gainwell's a great example. He's tiny. He looks tiny out there. He wears 14. How can you be a big running back wearing 14?
But I think he actually is listed at 201, which is the weird thing, right?
Is he?
I think he is. Yeah.
That's very surprising. He didn't come out at that weight. I think it's more like 180.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, not that I'm disagreeing with you. I mean, history shows that the NFL is not kind, both in their evaluation and in the wear and tear on guys that are under 200 pounds at running back. Yeah, Gainwell's listed at 5'9", 201. I just think that, like, maybe the gap is smaller. That in the modern NFL, if a guy like Gibbs or A-Chain or Deuce Vaughn is efficient with the touches, right, in space,
I can buy that.
Be a little more relevant than maybe we think. I don't know.
Yeah, I can buy that. If you think about it, like back in the day. So one of the free agents running backs that really sticks out in my head was Michael Turner. Do you remember him?
Vaguely.
He was behind LaDainian on the Chargers, and when his free agent contract came up, they called him Michael Turner the Burner.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He was a fastback coming out, and he went and signed a big free agent contract with the Falcons. He was really good for them as a lead back, but he bulked up. Like in the offseason, he did a couple cycles of vitamin D and really bulked up, and it just showed that, like, just the mentality back then was that I don't care how fast you are, you need to put on muscle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it definitely could be changed.
Remember Christian Okoye?
Oh yeah, what a monster! Him and Barry Ward, the Nigerian nightmare.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some landing spots for these guys.
Sure, let's do it.
So I've broken them into some tiers. All right, and I just want you to tell me whether you think that these are tier 1 teams or not, and then we'll get into a little who would you rather.
Okay.
All right. So
has anyone ever told you that you cough a lot when you say the word vitamin?
Thanks, Mr. Literal. All right. So tier 1, I have my criteria for this were teams that have a clear need at wide receiver 1 and 2, really, for most of these teams, and already have a quarterback in place, already have their franchise quarterback in place.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in this tier, I have Kansas City, clear need for wide receiver, franchise quarterback, elite quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Tier 2, I have the Giants, obvious clear need, quarterback in place. They're going to either franchise or sign Danny Dimes. Pats, clear need. Now that they have the offensive coordinator that's not a special teams coordinator, they have an actual, offensive coordinator. Bill O'Brien, I think, will do a good job with that offense. And say what you want about Mac Jones, with an actual offense, I expect him to build on his year 1 numbers.
Real quick, I saw I think a beat writer tweet that Mac Jones says, "I want to be coached hard," and that Bill O'Brien is the right guy to coach him hard. So,
and he knows that firsthand.
Yeah,
he was his coordinator, offensive coordinator at Bama, and Bama guys always get better. They always take the coaching, and they always get better. Otherwise, they don't make it at Alabama. And then the last team in this tier I have are the Ravens.
You said?
Yeah, Ravens. And I'm, for this exercise, we're supposing Lamar stays. because
Sure.
there's no way I believe they're letting him go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any teams you don't think are tier 1 in there?
Well, I mean, I think within that tier, there's a spectrum.
Sure.
But that sounds good. What did you think about putting the Bears in that tier?
I did. They're pretty much at the top of tier 2.
Okay.
I thought about it. I actually, if you could see my street, right under the Ravens, I have a B, and then it's scribbled out. Just, I guess that's my. I guess that's my faith. No faith in Fields. My confidence level in Fields, I guess.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And that's gut. That is total gut feeling.
I mean, it's pretty talented.
I mean, whether he's gonna elevate players around him or not, I think is really, really up in the air.
It is.
As if you have him as a fantasy player, I believe that he's going to put up points and probably perform as a top 12 quarterback in Dynasty or in fantasy. But do I think he's going to elevate players around him, especially this coming year? Probably not. Not to the level that you would want.
Pretty telling that Dimes is a quarterback in place and Fields is not. Yeah. Well, I mean, Dable and Saquon with the running game, but interesting. Yeah.
I guess that's more to me about Dable. Dable is definitely the whisperer for that kind of quarterback. The Allen, and Danny Dimes is like, Josh Allen's little brother. Just not as talented, not as big.
And according to you, Will Levis is the middle child.
Yes, exactly. Will Levis is somewhere between those two.
Yeah.
Bad decisions and all. They all tried to steal their girlfriends from each other, always making bad choices, All right, so let's play a little Who Would You Rather with some of these guys that we talked about earlier and some of these
J-Lo.
tier 1s. J-Lo?
Yeah. Oh, different Who Would You Rather. Okay.
Gross. All right, so I'm Jenna Jameson still.
Jesus. Hold on a second. My smartphone that wasn't invented when she was relevant says it's not 1997 anymore.
All right, Chasey Lane.
Same.
Yeah. All right. Who would you rather? Juju stays with KC. No. I would change that. Juju goes to the Giants or Lazard goes to KC. Who would you rather have?
That's a very good question. I lean Lazard to KC, even though I kind of was dumping on Lazard there before, because that's quarterback certainty, which he doesn't have, and that certain quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, and he's probably a smarter player than a number of the receivers there. And if we're assuming Juju has gone to the Giants, then there's certainly some. I know vacated targets isn't like everybody's favorite thing, but it's a thing. Also, on top of that, I wonder how much Juju and Wan'Dale cannibalize each other in that scenario. Being fairly similar players, so it's kind of a push, but give me Lazard on the Chiefs.
I like that too.
Even though right now I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you hit on a good point that Lazard's a savvy player, and I think he would. He plays well with Rodgers. You probably play really well with Mahomes too. That street ball kind of style.
I was gonna say, even though right now there are probably 35 spots separated in my rankings. In that scenario, all of a sudden, that gap closes.
Yeah. All right. Who would you rather? Jacoby Myers to the Ravens or McCole Hardman to the Pats?
Myers to the Ravens, like hands down.
Is it just because you think he's a better player?
He's a better player. I have hope for that offense now, right? And now think about, Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Mark Andrews, Jacoby Myers. Say what you will about Bateman, but Bateman to as on the outside with Myers, more of the intermediate routes, right? With an offensive coordinator who's not named Greg Roman,
Yeah,
wheels up. Whereas McCole, I don't like, and I think the Pats are in that tier of they have a quarterback and they have a need at wide receiver, but they also have like a really vanilla quarterback and Ramondre JK close, tight ends not close, complimentary receiver Tyquan Thornton, like versus Bateman, like, and plus I already like Hardman worse than I like Myers, like, yeah.
All right, cool. I agree. I do think that they would also need a speed element, but that's not that hard to find. Wouldn't it be neat if they drafted Jalen Hyatt and signed Jacoby Myers?
Interesting. Yeah.
Or hell, sign Jacoby Myers and DJ Chark.
They could get Marvin Mims at a much lower draft capital price than Jalen Hyatt.
But isn't he more of the Jacoby Myers type, or is he an over the top guy? I'm not. I haven't done him yet. Actually.
So you are right. I think in that people overstate the fact that he's just a deep ball guy. I'm just thinking, in general.
But he is a deep ball guy.
He can be, yeah.
Okay. I thought he was more of the shifty slot guy, but like I said, I haven't watched him yet.
But I just was thinking in general, small and fast,
Yeah,
and much cheaper as far as draft capital with a much bigger pedigree and longer resume. Guy was like the number one or two like wide receiver in all of Texas high school football. And side note, Texas kind of takes high school football seriously.
Do they?
Yeah, a little bit.
Was there a TV show about that, or a movie or something? No. All right, let's move on to tier 2.
Okay.
I don't want to go too long tonight, so let's hit
up.
No.
We're going long.
Okay, we're going long. All right, so we got. I don't have to open tomorrow, so F it. If you're in, I'm in. This is a longer tier, so stay with me. I have the Bears, the Bills, Dallas. I just can't say their team name for some reason. The Vikings, the Cards, and the Chargers. And these are sort of a mixed bag because I didn't have a sort of like it's the guy. I didn't have a criteria. These are the teams that didn't meet tier 1 criteria, but I still like, for some reason. Bears, they don't have anybody. The Bills, I think Gabe Davis is a really good third receiver, stretch the field, nice complimentary guy, but they could use an upgrade as second guy. And Khalil Shakir is they're like third, fourth speed guys to me.
Yeah. And anyway, Tibbs not getting any younger.
Yeah, exactly. They need to draft some talent. I think it's obvious that they needed some weapons in that last game they played, whether Josh Allen was 100% or not. They needed to be able to rely on something else. So, I'm sorry, do you want me to go over this again?
Yes and no. All right. Tell me the tier 1 teams again, just the teams.
Giants, Pats, KC, Ravens.
Giants, 44.3 million cap space. Chiefs, 14 million cap space. Ravens, 27 million cap space. Patriots, 32.6 million cap space. And what was the other one? That was it, right?
That was it.
All right. Now let's take a look at tier 2. The Bears, number 1 at 91 million cap space. And
Wow.
who's the rest? And who's the rest of the tier?
Bills.
Negative 19.6.
19.6. Is this after the new cap was announced?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Still, it's neighborhood, you know.
Yeah. Dallas. We know that they're in trouble.
-7. 7.2. Okay. Yeah.
Vikings.
-23.4.
Woof. Cards.
They're okay. Plus 14.47.
14. And Chargers.
-20.4.
Yikes.
So a lot of this tier is the tier for drafting guys, not signing guys.
Sure. I guess you're adding a little realism to my fantasy game here.
I thought it would be a neat wrinkle, right?
Use a wide receiver.
Yeah.
These are all places that could use a wide receiver
and
are not a dumpster fire at quarterback.
Okay.
Actually, most of these teams have a franchise quarterback, right? Actually, all of these teams have a franchise quarterback. So, a couple elite guys in here. The problem is, Chargers have too much competition, so they're not tier 1. The Cardinals, not knowing who the coach is going to be and that Kyler's not going to be ready for the start of the season that doesn't pass the smell test to me as an elite landing spot. Vikings, I don't know that they're going to get rid of Thielen. So is there really room? I guess is my thought. And then, Hawk gets so much more attention now, and obviously they have the best wide receiver in football. So. And then Dallas really needs a wide receiver, I feel like, but they already have a number 1 taking some attention away. Dak isn't really elite to me, but he is at least a franchise quarterback.
And I would also add that Gallup is second year back from ACL next year. So
true. And who knows? Maybe Tolbert just needed a year. So yeah, that kind of and I guess somewhere in the back of my mind, I realized that Dallas is not going to be able to do everything this year in free agency. So didn't really seem realistic to me either. Overly realistic. Anyway. All right, so let's play a little Who Would You Rather with these guys.
Sophia Loren.
Gross. So, in grumpier old men, Sophia Loren? Is she still alive? Brian, what are we talking here?
I thought tier 2 we were going to do old time vintage, but I guess I'm still playing the wrong game here. I don't know.
Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell to the Bills. Or Chark to the Chargers.
Campbell to the Bills. I think because I think he fills a role that the Bills are looking for and maybe only kind of have Shakir for. Whereas Chark to the Chargers, Williams isn't like that, super speed, deep threat, take the top off a defense guy, but he is like an outside guy, right? What they're gonna need is the next Keenan Allen, and his name is not that it's a direct comp, but Jackson Smith-Njigba. They're gonna draft Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's gonna land on the Chargers, wheels effing up. And I would take Campbell on the Bills, even though I like Chark probably better. I just think that Campbell fills a role that the Bills need more than Chark does for the Chargers.
I'll push back a little. I think the Chargers were desperately missing a deep threat this year. They lost Jalen Guyton, and that was really their only. You said, Mike Williams can get open deep, but he's not going to scare defenses into playing back.
No, that's a very
you
good
have
point.
to have multiple guys.
Yeah.
So I do think they need, and I feel like he's not going to be an expensive, replacement or expensive option. So,
No.
but Paris Campbell, I feel it really fits the Bills. They do have guys that can stretch the field, and he'd have a lot of room to operate underneath it. I think Josh Allen's shown that he likes to play with a slot receiver. He lit Cole Beasley up a couple years ago.
Very true.
Yeah, I like that fit. So let me ask you this. All right, let's go back to Jacoby Myers to the Cards. Or Juju to Dallas.
I think because of the factors that you mentioned before, the uncertainty with the Cardinals, I would have to lean. I would have to lean on the Juju side on this one. I mean, I have Juju higher ranked anyway, and when I think about the situations that they would go into, I mean, you'd have to tell me though that Lamb's probably gonna have to play a smaller percentage in the slot, and what does that do to him?
Right.
But
yeah, he plays a lot in the slot.
But I mean, I just think that's better. Yeah.
What is their offense even going to look like next year? We have no idea who their offensive coordinator is going to be. So
Mike McCarthy
gets a. Oh God! So it's just still going to be this boring slog that they throw out there. It's really, I mean, it's better than Jason Garrett, but it's not real inventive, and you don't see them. Like they could run if they have the right players. Like, could you imagine Juju, Lamb, and we'll say Gallup gets back to his old health, or you have somebody with some speed in a 3-man stack, where you have like the smaller speed guy offset from the line of scrimmage, maybe even a little bit of motion to get him open, and then you have those two big body guys kind of clearing space underneath. It just seems like it could work, even though that they're similar players. Well, not really similar players, but they operate in similar areas of the field, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Lamb's way better player and just has way more speed than Juju and can get downfield or whatever. But I don't know. Seems like it could work a bit. It's not really probably what they like a perfect fit, but the right offensive coordinator could make that work, I think is what I'm saying. Do you think the Vikings are going to go for a wide receiver? They're probably likely to draft one, right?
I mean, I would think that the draft would be where they address it, given the cap situation. They also have to think about where they stand on Chandler and Nwangwu, assuming that Madison, they can't afford to re-sign Madison, so they're probably looking at that in the draft as well. I don't know that they're players much in free agency, but I don't know how deep the guard class is in free agency or the DBs that they need, to be a credible pass defense for once. I don't know what that free agent class is like, so maybe there's some value there, but
yeah, that's pretty deep offensive line and corner actually in this draft from what I've read. I don't know a lot about it. Yeah, I guess that's true. I would love to see Kenny Nwangwu get a chance at least to be Dalvin's backup. He's got size and speed and some ability. I'd really like to see him get a shot. He's been good on kick returns, at least. I'll tell you that much.
Sometimes those guys are in trouble because they're too good at what they do with special teams.
True. I mean, if he's got ability, they'll most likely give him a shot.
Mm-hmm.
You want to move on to tier 3?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So these are teams that need wide receivers, but I just don't think are attractive. So you have the Saints, Panthers, Titans, Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Browns were almost tier 2 for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not a real believer in the people's elbow,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest. You know, I mean, obviously, I think Amari Cooper could have another good year. He's a quasi, right
I'd
on the borderline
probably
of a wide receiver one.
I probably like DPJ more than you do. Just for shits and giggles, Browns are negative 14.6. Saints are just their way on the bottom there. They're the last with like negative 60.5.
Yeah, but they'll find ways to do what they want to do.
Titans, negative 23.6. What was the other one?
Panthers.
Panthers, negative almost 9.
I mean, I like the Browns and Panthers out of those.
I mean, I like the Browns
because I
the
like
best.
their head coach. Yeah, Browns obviously have good coach and quarterback. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Panthers, definitely the coach. The question for me is, do they roll out a placeholder like Corral or Darnold and just eat a year? Do they trade up a few spots and grab the third quarterback out of Young, Stroud, and Levis? Do they sit at 9 and draft QJ, or do they sit at 9 and draft Anthony Richardson and have him sit for a year? It's like, what team is this wide receiver free agent going to?
I'm really feeling Richardson for them.
Yeah.
If they don't trade up.
And Titans, yeah, for sure. I mean, but again, Tannehill doesn't have much time left on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Saints are interesting, right? Like, Kamara is going to get suspended. Olave may be on an island with if Landry leaves and Michael Thomas almost surely gets cut. And by the way, who's going to start at quarterback?
Right. And do we love their coaching?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, I don't know. It's tough to judge because they're just a dumpster fire. Their defense was pretty good, but their offense is just such a mess. So many injuries.
Toward the end of the year, when I was doing like DFS, they were consistently like some of the lowest team implied totals, on the Vegas line in the entire league. Did you have the Jets anywhere? Were you thinking about them at all?
As a wide receiver landing spot? No.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not at all. Okay. I think they have two damn good ones, and they could just keep Corey Davis if they wanted.
Yeah. It seems to me like, let's assume Corey Davis leaves, or, since I was like 10 years old, the Jets have needed a big body wide receiver. And
Corey Davis is big too.
They had one like for a minute with Keyshawn. He was kind of big. I don't know. Are they gonna find an excuse to trade more now, Elijah Moore, because it doesn't look like they're giving into the trade demand now? Are they going to keep him, and is he still doghouse? Like, who's going to be the QB? There's a lot of questions there. Trade? Well, I don't.
Is he still demanding a trade?
I don't know that No, I don't think he's demanding a trade anymore. But he also basically got doghoused and not used with like every quarterback they had. So, I
mean, if they have to trade for a quarterback, would he possibly be part of that trade?
I think that's a good.
I mean, it's not fantasy football, but I don't know. That kind of just cropped up in my brain.
Yeah, I mean, there's your opportunity, right?
Yeah. I like the Jets as a landing spot. I believe they're going to get a quarterback. I think Hackett's a good OC. I don't think he's a good head coach. I don't think he mixed well with Russell Wilson. I don't think a lot of people mix well with Russell Wilson. No.
I don't think so either, but wasn't it basically Hackett's offense that they were running that scored like 13 points a game? That's what makes me nervous.
Yeah, but they're running it with a quarterback that either wasn't suited to it or just didn't want to. You know, as soon as Hackett left, Russell Wilson's efficiency just shot up.
Yeah.
You know, not through the roof, but it really shot up, like right away. You know, they started looking good. Judy started looking good. You know, and they were still having huge offensive line problems the entire year. But as soon as Hackett left, it was different. So I don't know if that's mental, on purpose, not on purpose. Who knows what Russell Wilson does and why. All I know is what my wife tells me. His wife is a handful.
Oh, Ciara?
Yeah.
The singer?
Yeah, every time his name comes up, you know, I'm cursing at the TV. Come on, Russ, I need something. She'll just look at me and go, his wife's a handful. That's all I know.
And he doesn't poop.
Poop. Yeah. I swear. That man just needs one good game day crap. Anyway. So I'm not going to do tier 2 guys. Who would you rather? I'm not. I can't. But this is it. So can we? Are there any guys? Before you came on, I speculated that. I mean, it's not that much of a speculation. Brandon Cook's going to get traded, right? So he is probably the number one out of all these guys, right? If you're an NFL team.
I think I would put him 3 behind Juju and Myers.
Would you? Okay.
But acquisition cost, you could probably, trade for Cooks for much cheaper than the, contract that you're going to give to Juju and Myers. Cooks has a chance to be 2 or even 1. I just, I don't know how much of this year was the Texans were terrible. He gave up and was, I don't know, so kind of scares me a little bit. Like I could totally see him bouncing back in the right spot, but I kind of believe more in Juju and Myers at the moment.
Yeah. If I knew that he definitely hasn't lost a step, I'd be all about him. But there's that chance because he wasn't getting open deep at all. He can still, he's a good zone beater. He's a savvy player. And he can still get open up underneath, but I don't know if he's going to stretch defenses anymore like he used to.
Which of those tier 3 teams, not that he has to go to a tier 3 team, but which of those tier 3 teams do you think he might fit with the best?
Browns.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
I'd like to see him there, actually. I think that would be a pretty good fit. Not a lot of pressure for him to be the number one. They also have weapon, they also have a run game, run first team. They also have weapons, DPJ and Brown, and also the 3 or 4 games that Njoku will play.
So I don't know too much about the Browns team needs, going into the draft. But they have a second, a third, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, a 6th, and a 7th. You think you could get Brandon Cooks for a 4th or a 5th?
Yeah, you would think, but don't you think somebody offered that for him at the trade deadline and they didn't trade him? That was an odd thing to me.
Was the friction between him and the team as evident then as it was later? I mean, I don't know. I can't remember. I'm not saying it wasn't. I just, for some reason, I think I remember.
Well, that's when it all.
Later. Yeah.
That's when it all blew up.
Right. I didn't get traded, so I was mad. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different GM now, right? Or they keep their GM and fire the head coach? That's right. They kept the GM.
Texans, they kept what's his face from Cesariano or whatever. It's the guy from the Patriots, Caesar Salad.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at these mock drafts that some of these Browns like websites are running, and there's a wide receiver taken in round 2 or 3. So their first 2 picks in all 3 of them. So they seem to think they need a wide receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Well, anyone that goes to the Titans just grosses me out. And then if you think of what can they do? They can sign Brady.
I was gonna say, what can they do at quarterback, right? Like,
they can sign Brady on a team-friendly deal. He doesn't need money. Maybe he just wants to go, see what he can do with King Henry and his old buddy Vrabel.
if you're Brady though, and you can go there, or you can go to Las Vegas. I don't know. You got the coach connection. You got Jacobs, Waller, Devontae Adams, Renfro, right?
Titans
Renfro.
Titans have a much better defense. It's more ready-made to win.
That's very true. Yeah.
And
Run
who knows
defense.
if he really, who knows if he really trusts McDaniels as a head coach? I mean, Vrabel's got a much better track record. He's taken a team without a quarterback, basically, with just sort of this. Tannehill sort of turned into a manager.
Mm-hmm.
He's taken that to the playoffs a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Gave
think
some
about
teams a
this
hard
time
in the playoffs.
I'm sorry.
What?
We're misfiring tonight. We're interrupting.
No, go on. My bad.
It's all right. Yeah, it's okay. Think about this time last year. If you were doing like a rookie draft before the NFL draft, if you were a maniac who does those. Although, doing one or two of those is fun sometimes. Think about where you were drafting Malik Willis then, right? Spending like 105 on him,
It's the real problem with Titans receivers. Like, are they really going to go with Malik Willis next year? I don't think they are.
No.
He's the kind of guy that's going to have to sit 2-3 years and then maybe gets a shot. I don't know. But they drafted him in the 3rd round. They don't have to start him.
No, I would imagine that their next starting quarterback is not named Malik Willis.
Yeah. Yes, I guess. Well, Tannehill's got the real out in this contract after next year, but I'm pretty sure they could still move on from him if it came down to getting Brady. If Brady wanted to go there, they'd make it happen.
What's Blaine Gabbert doing these days?
Backing up Brady. Tampa's next starting quarterback.
Kyle Trask.
Kyle Trask. Yeah. Gardner Minshew's a free agent.
All right, Minshew to the Titans, and then
Carr to the Jets, Brady to the Raiders,
and Brady to retirement, and Rodgers to a bus hitting him, and he's paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of his life.
What would it be if Rodgers went to Tampa?
Well, number 12 is available, right?
It would just be so desperate and gross. Everyone would hate it. All right, so there we go. There's our wide receiver free agency primer. Sorry, guys, it wasn't more exciting. Next week we're gonna do something a little different. We've done running back free agents and receiver free agents. What I miss?
It wasn't exciting because of who was on, or because wide receivers.
No, the content.
Okay. Wide receivers are not as good as the running back. Okay.
The subject matter, my friend.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. Your co-host last week seemed to get lukewarm after like the 3 best running backs in the class, and they're like, I don't want to talk about anybody else. Come on. How exciting is that? I mean, Damian Harris was their limit. Oh, I don't want to talk about Damian Harris.
Yeah, they want to talk about Damian Harris. Mike was like, everybody just needs to stay where they are. Yeah, we had some Gus's last week for
Yeah.
sure. Right on, man. Thank you so much. I can't say thank you enough for saving my nuts, because this was going to be about a 20-minute episode. Now it's an hour 20.
Well, I'm glad I was home and not doing anything else. Shocker.
Right on. What you drinking tonight, by the way? I forgot to ask.
That'd be lime seltzer and coffee.
Lime seltzer, yes sir, and coffee, yes sir. Wonderful.
Coffee,
I'm
by the
drinking
way.
water.
Since it was such a hot topic today in the DWZ universe, I hate
It's true.
flavored coffee, but there's a coffee company called Grounds and Hounds, and some of the money goes to, like, dog shelters and stuff. And they released this chocolate peanut butter coffee, and it was supposed to be seasonal, just for, like, the winter. And, like, it looks like they're going to keep it year round because it was so popular. Now, I like sex, but chocolate and peanut butter is much better. Let's face it. Like, why bother with sex when there's chocolate and peanut butter? And the thing is, it's a pretty understated flavor. Like, it's not overwhelming. Like when you, like, smell like a Dunkin' hazelnut, like from across the room, and I, like, want to puke,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm drinking chocolate peanut butter coffee.
Interesting. I just do Pacific Bold from Costco.
Yeah.
In K-Cups. I know you hate me for using K-Cups, I'm sure.
No, not really. No, I mean, listen, I understand the whole environmental impact thing. And yeah, there are those little reusable things that you can just put, like, ground coffee into. Right? I get it. Right. But, we have to start not pointing fingers at individual consumers and start thinking about the systems that create climate crisis.
Right on. Lesson from Brian for the night. The point is, though, I don't put anything in it. I just drink black coffee. I don't like flavors either. No. And so the whole station is lost on me. Although I am, for my years in Marriott, a trained Starbucks barista. In fact, I could train you to be a Starbucks barista. Never drank anything.
I either have
they're regular coffee. Yeah. It's
either
very
have
bitter
just
and dark.
Plain black coffee,
like that,
or I have, like, the espresso drinks, like an oat milk latte or something like that, But, like, as far as, like, my regular coffee that's not an espresso drink, I'm not putting any cream or sugar in it. Like, that's for the weak. Like,
on.
And by the way, I do like Starbucks coffee. I don't find it bitter. I tend to, the people who find it bitter, I don't trust them. I don't think they actually like coffee.
It's bitter and dark, but I like that. That's what I want out of my coffee. And that's funny that you just said that, because I was about to say, my grandfather used to say, if you have to put shit in your coffee to make it taste better, then you don't like coffee.
I like my coffee like I like my women. In my mouth.
Wow. That's what she said. I would love to end it there, but you've got a couple plugs. What is your what are your plugs, Brian? I know we can find you all over the interwebs and the sound waves.
Oh, please.
Radio waves.
You can find me on various Discords, Overthinking Rookies. No. So you can find me on Twitter at ffjunkie_. Obviously, do Dynasty Fever. Wednesdays we record, me and Jesse, and the episodes drop Thursday at Dynasty Fever Pod on Twitter. I do some stuff with goingfor2.com, including some articles and Dynasty rankings, and a live podcast on Saturdays at 7:30 on their YouTube channel, Going for Two Live YouTube channel, and that's called the Dynasty Saturday Night 5, where we do some lists of 5 to kind of have some fun with Dynasty.
Yes, Dynasty Fever. We have Matt Hicks of Devi.
Rookie Big Board.
Oh, yeah. I've recently started listening to those guys. When I say recently, probably the last 2 months. Once Rookie Fever started hitting me, I went back to those because they're really good. They're really good. They're very detailed, and I think we're very, very lucky to have Matt Hicks on Dynasty Fever this week.
Except really that's next week.
Next week. Damn it.
This week, it's the 2023 running back wild ride.
Oh, yeah, the wild ride.
Yeah.
Mr. Toad. All right. So, real quick, just want to jump on something that Memphis is pushing, and that is the orphans in our Patreon leagues. So, Memphis is giving away prepaid orphan teams in our Patreon leagues. Out of, I think we're up to 15 leagues. We have 5 orphans, so really doing well. Not a lot of orphans. We could fill them, but Memphis actually told Neil, our admin, to stop filling those positions so that he could give those away as prizes. So if you join our Patreon, Dynasty Warzone Patreon, just message Memphis at something on Twitter.
I think it's DWZ_Memphis, right?
Yes, there it is. On Twitter, just message him and tell him you want to join. And like I said, he's giving away those prizes. I think he's giving away some free Patreon dues as well. So this is a really good time to join.
DWZ Memphis. Yeah.
Okay. Really good time to join the Patreon. There's a lot of extra content coming out. So I think he put out 3 different Patreon episodes this week. So hop on. It's a lot of fun. You get obviously 4 or 5 regular podcasts a week, and then amazing leagues that Brian and I are both in and like to smack each other around and make trades and lose to each other and rebuild and then win dynasties and all that kind of stuff like that. So, Brian, again, can't thank you enough, and I'll see you Wednesday. And to everybody else, we will see you next week. We'll probably be on Sunday night and then on Tuesdays on the Dynasty Warzone Network. All right. Have a good night, Brian.